When my younger sister, Amaka, first started begging to wear my expensive shoes to her church every Sunday, I thought it was just the innocent admiration of a sibling who had nothing. I was so foolish. My name is Adanna, and if there was one thing everyone in our compound knew, it was that I was the one who had finally made it. I had fought my way out of the biting poverty our parents left us in. I moved to the city, started a wholesale fabric business, and by the grace of God, my shop expanded into 3 massive warehouses. I built a beautiful bungalow for us in the village. I wore native attire tailored to perfection, adorned my neck with heavy coral beads, and drove a car that made our neighbors whisper in awe. But out of all my worldly possessions, my absolute weakness was shoes. My closet was a shrine of Italian leather, sparkling stilettos, thick-soled wedges, and designer flats. I believed that a woman's glory was carried by her feet, that the shoes you wear dictate the rooms you are permitted to enter. My younger sister, Amaka, was the exact opposite of me. She was the undisputed prayer warrior of the family. While I was out hustling in the chaotic markets of the city, Amaka was permanently stationed in the village, attending every vigil, every crusade, every mountaintop fasting program. She wore long, sweeping skirts, kept her hair threadbare, and carried an oversized Bible that looked heavier than her own body. Yet, despite all her aggressive prayers, Amaka's life was painfully stagnant. She had no job, no suitor knocking on our gate, and no ambition beyond the 4 walls of her local church. I felt deep, overwhelming pity for her. Because we shared the same blood, because we had once eaten roasted yam from the same rusty plate as orphans, I took it upon myself to carry her burdens. I sent her monthly allowances. I bought her food. And then, one Saturday evening, she came into my bedroom with a timid smile and pointed at my favorite pair of gold-studded sandals. "Sister Adanna," she whispered softly, her eyes looking down in that humble way of hers. "Please, can I wear this your beautiful shoe to church tomorrow?" She said she wanted to step into the presence of the Lord looking presentable. She said she wanted her feet to testify to the goodness of God in our family. My dear, my heart melted completely. I told her to take it, to take any shoe she wanted. That was the beginning of my descent into a living nightmare. Every single Saturday night, without fail, Amaka would come into my room. She never asked for my expensive lace wrappers. She never asked for my designer handbags or my gold jewelry. She only ever wanted my shoes. And she specifically targeted the shoes I wore the most during the week, the ones that had carried me to my most successful business meetings. At first, I didn't notice the strange details, but after a few months, I began to see that my shoes were returning with a very peculiar kind of dirt. It wasn't the normal dry dust of the village roads. It was a heavy, damp, reddish-brown earth that clung stubbornly to the soles. And they smelled wrong. They did not smell of the polished tiles or the wooden pews of her mega church. They smelled of crushed marigold, stale camphor, and old, undisturbed rain. They smelled like decay. When I asked her about it, she just smiled, her innocent, holy smile. "Sister, the church compound was muddy because of the vigil," she would say, quickly taking a rag to wipe them clean before putting them back in my closet. I brushed it off. But then, my own life started to change in the most terrifying ways. It started with a strange heaviness in my legs. I would wake up in the morning feeling as though someone had tied invisible blocks of cement to my ankles. Walking from my bed to the bathroom became a miserable, agonizing chore. Then, the spiritual heaviness bled into my physical reality. My thriving fabric business suddenly, violently crashed. My largest containers of imported goods were mysteriously seized at the port and eventually caught fire. My most loyal customers simply stopped calling me,
blocking my number without any explanation. My fiancé, a wealthy contractor who had already paid my bride price, woke up one morning, packed his bags, and told me he felt suffocated when he looked at me. Everything I had built with my sweat was crumbling like dry bread in water. And yet, as I was rapidly losing weight and losing my mind, Amaka was glowing. Her skin became radiant. She suddenly started receiving massive unexplained financial gifts from anonymous church members. She bought herself a new phone, started wearing expensive perfumes, and walked with a strange, confident bounce in her step. I went from hospital to hospital complaining about the searing pain in my legs, but the doctors ran every scan and told me nothing was physically wrong. I am telling you, this life is deep. One Friday night, I had a dream. I dreamt I was walking barefoot on a road made of broken glass while Amaka was floating above me, wearing my gold-studded sandals, laughing a laugh that sounded like screeching iron. I woke up soaked in cold sweat, my heart hammering against my ribs. The Holy Spirit whispered one word into my spirit: follow. My darlings, before we go any deeper into this absolute madness, let me ask you, where are you watching from right now? Drop your city and country in the comments because I need to know where my Afro Softies family is gathered today. Please do your girl a massive favor and hit that like button, share this video to your family groups, and subscribe if you haven't already. Your free clicks and contributions mean everything to me and help this channel grow. And a quick reminder, my loves, as your scriptwriter, this story is heavily fictionalized and I use AI to speed up my writing process. But the human ideas, the dark realities of envy, and the lessons we are learning today are very, very real. Pay close attention because your enemy might be sleeping on the very same bed as you. Now, let us get back into the fire. That Sunday morning, I told Amaka I was too sick to get out of bed. She gave me a look of deep, fake sympathy, prayed a loud theatrical prayer over my head, and asked if she could borrow my red bottom heels for service. I weakly nodded my head. The moment she walked out of the compound, I threw off my bed sheets, dressed in a plain dark wrapper, and tied a scarf over my head to hide my face. I sneaked out through the back gate and hired an unpainted taxi, instructing the driver to stay far behind the keke napep Amaka had boarded. My hands were shaking. I prayed under my breath, asking God to prove my suspicions wrong. But as the keke drove past the large junction that led to her church, my blood turned to ice. She was not going to church. The keke took the dusty, abandoned road that led towards the outskirts of the neighboring town. It stopped right in front of the rusted iron gates of the old municipal cemetery. Omo. She was chanting in a harsh, guttural voice that sounded nothing like the sweet sister I knew. As she walks in wealth, let her walk into the grave, Amaka chanted, stomping her left foot. I take her glory, I take her speed, I bind her progress to the dead, she chanted, stomping her right foot. As my feet wear her shoes, my destiny wears her crown. Let her legs wither, let her life rot. Tears of pure, unadulterated horror streamed down my face. I had to bite my own wrapper to stop myself from screaming out loud. My sister, the one I fed, the one I clothed. She was not borrowing my shoes to walk into the house of God. She was using the sweat of my feet as a spiritual contact point. She was systematically walking my destiny into the graveyard, transferring her own curse of stagnation into my life and stealing my glory with every single step she took on those graves. I didn't confront her. I was too broken, too spiritually terrified. I sneaked back to my taxi and rushed home, crying until my eyes were swollen shut. When she returned later that afternoon, smiling and talking about how powerful the sermon was, I just stared at her. I wanted to strike her. I wanted to drag her to the village square and strip her naked. but I decided to wait. I wanted to expose her in a way she could never recover from. 2 weeks later, our wealthy uncle passed away and the entire village gathered for his massive traditional burial. Canopies were set up, the brass band was blaring, every prominent member of our extended family, including the village elders and the chief priest, was seated under the hot afternoon sun. This was my moment. I planned to wait until the family was called out to dance around the casket, and then I would snatch the microphone and expose her witchcraft to the entire world. I wore a simple native dress, purposely refusing to wear any high heels. Amaka, ironically, had asked to borrow the very same gold sandals she had worn on that dreadful Sunday. I gave them to her, knowing it would be the primary evidence of her crime. The MC finally called our family out. The music swelled, the heavy beating of the talking drums vibrating in my chest. Amaka stepped out first, her hips swaying, a fake sorrowful expression on her face as she danced gracefully in my shoes. I took a deep breath, preparing to step forward and stop the music. But the moment I lifted my right foot, a sensation like a bolt of lightning struck the base of my spine. It was not a normal pain. It felt as though thick, cold chains had suddenly been wrapped around my bones. I gasped, trying to force my leg forward, but it was completely dead. I tried to move my left leg, but it was as heavy as a mountain. The spiritual poison she had been feeding my aura for months had reached its boiling point. Right there, in front of the entire village, my knees buckled. I collapsed violently into the red dust. The music stuttered. A collective gasp ripped through the crowd. People began to rush towards me, screaming my name. Adanna! Adanna is down! I was lying in the dirt, paralyzed from the waist down, my eyes wide with terror, unable to utter a single word. I looked up through the dust, searching for my sister. Amaka did not run to me. She did not scream for help. Instead, she stood a few feet away, looking down at my crippled body. And then, very slowly, she reached down and tightened her wrapper. A small, wicked, victorious smile crept onto her lips. While the elders were shouting for water and my aunties were wailing over my paralyzed legs, Amaka closed her eyes, raised her hands to the sky, and began to dance. It was not a dance of mourning. It was a triumphant, rhythmic, energetic dance of pure conquest. She danced in circles around my fallen body, her feet stomping the earth in my gold shoes, exactly the way she had stomped on the grave. The village watched in absolute paralyzed horror as the pious, quiet prayer warrior celebrated over the sudden destruction of her successful older sister. She had won. She had successfully transferred her stagnation to me, and right there in the open, she was stepping fully into my stolen glory. Wow. Take a deep breath, my darlings, because that is a very heavy place to land. Afrosofty is back. My chest is actually tight just narrating that ending. You see, this life is a very deep, dark ocean, and sometimes the sharks are swimming right inside your own living room. Our elders have an ancient proverb that says, the insect that eats the leaf is hiding right inside the leaf. You do not need to look far to find the person plotting your downfall. Sometimes the greatest danger wears the face of a sibling, wears the cloak of religion, and smiles at you over the dinner table. Let us break down the painful moral lessons from Adanna and Amaka's story. Number 1. Blood is thicker than water, but water can drown you while blood watches and claps. Do not be blinded by family ties. Just because you share parents does not mean you share a destiny, and it certainly does not mean they have your best interests at heart. Envy knows no bloodline. Number 2, be fiercely protective of your personal items. In the spiritual realm, your clothes, your hair, and especially your shoes carry your sweat, your aura, and your energy. Stop sharing your personal garments out of pity. You do not know the altars your clothes are being carried to when they leave your sight. Number 3, beware of performative holiness. Not everyone carrying an oversized Bible and speaking in tongues is speaking to God. Many people use religion as a camouflage to hide the deepest, darkest witchcraft and jealousy. Judge people by the fruit of their actions, not the volume of their prayers. Number 4, never ignore sudden, unexplainable negative patterns in your life. When your business crashes overnight, when your health mysteriously fails without medical explanation, do not just cry and complain. Wake up spiritually. Pay attention to the shifts around you and investigate who entered your space right before the decline began. Number 5, pity is a dangerous doorway. Adanna's downfall began because she pitied her sister so much that she dropped her boundaries. It is wonderful to be generous, but give from a distance if you must. Never let pity force you to grant the enemy full, unrestricted access to your inner sanctuary. My Afro-Softy family, this story is a warning bell. Guard your space, guard your glory, and watch your shoes. Would you like me to tell you another story about family betrayal, or should we dive into a story about the hidden secrets of Nollywood marriages next? Let me know in the comments. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and I will see you in the next story.